We're on now to the educational section, and just before we go up to it, earlier I recognised the presence in the hall of pupils from St Patrick's College, Armagh. I also want to welcome some pupils here from the Royal School of Armagh. You're also very welcome. And to speak on this section and to motion number 14, please welcome to the podium Sean Rogers, MLA for Cyprus. Down, please.
Good afternoon, conference. If we are to rebuild our economy, then our education system must become A-star. Children need an A-star education system that unlocks the door to opportunity and sets them up for life. Despite what Mr. O'Dowd said the other day, our pupils didn't put first. No. Parents need an A-star system that works for them, not against them. Every parent wants the best for their child, but many parents, especially those who have children with special education needs, have to fight every step of the way to get appropriate support for their child. Parents need to be able to exercise parental choice where possible. Let it be all ability, Irish medium, integrated or grammar. Schools need A-star support and acknowledgement for what they do. And only when we have parents and schools working will children realise their true potential. And we must have a department that listens. Is it a department that consults, John O'Dowd's version of consultation? Or is it a department that has real and meaningful consultation? Well, if consultation on the levels of progression or area-based planning is anything to go by, then we are where we are. It is certainly not A-star for the Department of Education. More like, need to do a lot better. Just let me highlight one or two issues. Literacy and numeracy. We can have all the best strategies in the world, but if we haven't got the personnel there to deliver it, it won't get anywhere. How can a primary teacher with maybe over 30 in their class have individual reading plans and numeracy plans for children who are in difficulty? Let's get our young unemployed teachers into our schools to help address this issue. Our immediate problems must be addressed on three fronts: preschool, primary and post-primary. From my own experience in the classroom, if a 14-year-old tells you they hate maths but they can't read, you need to be a miracle worker. The next point, computer-based assessment in primary schools. The minister tried to tell me on the floor a few days ago that it's merely a computer glitch, or else teachers don't want it to work anyway. I have letter after letter from teachers and teacher organisations, and to be doubly sure, I went last week to experience NINA, that's Northern Ireland Numeracy Assessment, for myself. I saw questions inappropriately worded, and I saw you would need a high level of ICT dexterity to complete simple maths tasks. This is assessment for assessment's sake, not assessment for learning. In the words of one principal, I cannot emphasise enough the unnecessary stress these meaningful tests have caused in school, and not the waste of money they have been. What about ESA? I, like all practitioners in the past, was very happy when this idea was first mooted. I look forward to the day of less bureaucracy and more funds in the classroom. But the reality is just the opposite. This bill is about to be scrutinised by the Education Committee in the weeks ahead. It is extremely disappointing that Sinn Féin talk about ending selection, but it's been quietly forgotten about under ESA. Was there some sort of a deal with the DUP? Sinn Féin get ESA, DUP get selection. People need to know what the other parties executive didn't even know that ESA bill was on the agenda. It's okay for Martin McGuinness to end 11+, but to create a vacuum of unregulated tests, which is worse than 11+. I am calling on all parties to get around the table, led by an independent chairman, to ensure the elephant in the room, selection, is ended once and for all. For children, for parents and schools are being used as political pawns in this process. Early years strategy. You can't build an education system on sand. This is a necessary foundation for our children's learning. We're still waiting on this strategy. And as a sole member of the Education Committee, I pledge here on this platform to do everything I can to give the SDLP message out there. I would like to now move on motion 14. If you're a parent of a child with a learning disability, you will understand what a struggle it can be with the education and library boards. Compare health and education. A child has an eye or an orthodontic problem, your health visitor doctor spots it, visit a specialist, get glasses or a brace, within a few years the issue is corrected. On the other hand, a child that has been diagnosed with autistic spectrum disorder in 2010 and issued with a statement for a classroom assistant, no manual. I have to acknowledge that the Minister did listen in the review of the special education needs, but there are still concerns there about the personal learning plans, particularly what support they get from education library boards. Teachers have serious concerns because they're trying to get teachers to train up to do the diagnostic test, obviously cheaper than employing an education psychologist. And it's very important that the annual review still is there. So I move the motion.
Thank you, Sean.
Second motion, Donald Bradley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and I'm pleased to support the motion and endorse the sentiments which Sean has expressed here. Certainly, it's with some pride that I rise to support the motion, and as the sponsor of the autism bill in the Assembly, which was passed last year, a sponsor on behalf of the SDLP, I think that we as a party have made a considerable contribution to improving a lot of children with special educational needs, especially those with autism. Another area which the party has campaigned upon down through the years, and I want to pay tribute especially to Tim Atwood, is the situation regarding preschool places. As Sean said, the preschool year is an extremely important year, and even more important for children who come from a socially deprived background. The Department of Education tells us that there is a preschool place for every child in its immediate preschool year. The school itself applied for a variation of 10% on its preschool intake, and that was refused by the Department of Education, although primary school pupils of primary school age do have this entitlement. I believe that the same entitlement of 10% variation should be afforded to preschool settings as well, and I believe that this would go a long way towards solving the problem. We have put this proposal directly to the department, and I look forward to positive change in this respect when the review of preschool education is published in the autumn. There are a number of other items here in this motion which are important. Time does not allow me to deal with all of them. Of the examination system is one which demands immediate attention. Before we move to replacing GCSE examinations, we should be sure that what we're considering replacing them with is better than what we have. And surely it would be much more sensible to fully review GCSEs and their suitability for our pupils before we throw the baby out with the bathwater. Area-based planning is another area which is covered by this motion, and certainly there is a need for us to streamline our education estate. But we can only do that if we have the means and the resources to provide the new build that's necessary to accommodate any new plan or any new outline of the school's estate. At the moment, delegates As I said, I concur with the sentiments expressed by the proposer of the motion, Sean Rogers, and commend it to you. Gurmila Mahdi, thank you very much.
Thank you. No more speakers on this motion, motion number 14. Those in favour of motion number 14?
Thank you, Chair. I move on motion 15. I hope, as Dominic said, I hope the potential overhaul of the GCSE system won't create change for change's sake. We should concentrate on fixing what's broken with our current system, first and foremost. I don't want to see the re-emergence of a double-tier system where one student's achievement is demoted over another's. We had this back in the 70s and 80s with CSEs and O-levels. Yes, there are problems with GCSEs, but let's fix what's broken. What's broken is our numeracy and literacy and children getting 5 A's at GCSE. Yes, there are problems with coursework, but this can be rectified with controlled assessment and greater use of computer assessment, not the ninnas or the nillisville. I use the phrase real and meaningful consultation with all stakeholders, not merely online surveys. Get this consultation completed as effectively and as efficiently as possible to ensure young people are not penalised. Yes, change is necessary as society and the economy evolves, but all change is not necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I'm going to go back to myself. I'll have one more speaker, Councillor Declan O'Rourke, a former teacher, Declan. Declan, you'll be second, that's okay.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for indulging me, and I'm going to ask you to indulge me a little bit more, because I want to make a couple of sort of broader remarks about a couple of themes in education that I think are of some importance at the present time, and I was going to put them in the setting of one of the other motions, but perhaps I could be said to be addressing myself to the opening remarks of Sean when he introduced the first motion in the section. So in supporting this motion, as I say, I want to make remarks about two particular issues. The first of those is the issue of academic selection, which Sean very rightly referred to. While we are, as a party, formally opposed to academic selection, in practice I find there are many who look behind them all of the time, and they hear lots of people in our community who express concerns about that position and who are strong defenders of the grammar schools, and I think people are influenced by that. In the meantime, area-based planning proceeds very fitfully with the Catholic schools. It seems in many areas that we actually have two area-based plans, one for the Catholic sector and one for the remaining sector, and they're taking clearly very much a pro-selection route. The outcome for the Catholic sector is far from clear. For the what you might call the official church position opposed to academic selection proves very hard to realise, and in part that's because of the stance taken by the non-Catholic sector. So it looks to me as though area-based planning and education is leading to suboptimal solutions, as in many areas of public policy in the control, or should be the control, of the Northern Ireland Assembly. I've long had the view that a lot more work needs to be done to convince the doubters, and there are many sincere doubters, that the removal of academic selection doesn't prejudice or lead to the reduction of academic standards, and that in fact, by retaining the highest levels of achievement, it'll spread that excellence more widely, and that's a task that I would urge on the SDLP. The second point that I want to make, I referred in that earlier part to the Catholic and the non-Catholic sectors. It's obvious that the Catholic sector is under a sustained political assault that comes from the integrated education movement, not surprisingly, Alliance Party, lately the DUP, also arguably in a more concealed form from Sinn Féin. There are many people outside of Northern Ireland, England in particular, who don't know much about the history or politics of this place, and they see integrated education as the simple remedy for all our divisions. I regard that as simplistic and false, and I think many in this party would do so also. I think that there is some equivocation, however, in the SDLP stance on the matter, and that our professed defence of parental choice isn't the sum total, I think, of our opinion. And I think some SDLP statements, which are very directly supportive of, and I would say a fairly simplistic way, integrated education, haven't thought through what the party position is in relation to the Catholic schools. I'm saying that the SDLP does need to think through its position on this matter further. The assault on the Catholic schools is real and increasing. It's not all well-intentioned or benign, and I think that much of it is an attack on certain very basic values of our party, and I have made it very clear where I think the SDLP should place itself in that debate. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're moving to a vote on motion number 15. Those in favour, please. Those against? Motion 15 passes.